So to give a little bit of context of what we want to do over the next half an hour, we have 4 very, very brave entrepreneurs that have started their own business and have found kind of a niche in a very saturated market. And personally for me, and brave I think is a word that we've all shared a little bit this evening, for me I want to learn from them. I want to learn around how the initial vision came to life. I want to know kind of the trials and tribulations of bringing a business into the market, especially one within a saturated industry. But before we start to dive into that narrative, I'd love to kind of start from left to right for a quick introduction of yourself.
Stage left? Or?
Yeah, just imagine it's a wave and it's going that way.
So me.
And we can all get some ice cream afterwards as well.
So my name's Andrew Kinnear. My wife and I started a company called Froba Products that makes that delicious non-dairy treat that everybody tried, hopefully, called Yellow Fruit. We went on a journey. We were super brave. We had other incomes and stuff while we were doing that. And then we really took a leap of faith and started this company in a totally different industry than we were working in. Hi, Laura. Laura, one of my first supporters, bought an entire case. She was, I don't know if you guys saw at the last RetailTO, but we did this thing called a lick starter, like a Kickstarter, right? And where I was selling a whole case, and then I hand delivered it to all these people. That was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, so that's me. I'm like a dessert guy. My background is more marketing, payments, technology, and that sort of stuff. And now I'm in this frozen dessert, grocery, retail world. So yeah, so that was brave. Thank you.
It's a big support circle here.
Yeah, very much so. I'm Mary Feather, and I'm the founder of a company called Kaya Naturals, and it's a clean beauty company. I actually was brave because I left corporate, and I was on retail side at one point. I was a product developer at Shoppers Drug Mart, and I developed a line called Co Cosmetics for Shoppers, and had also worked at a number of other cosmetic companies from Revlon to Yves Saint Laurent, and decided that I would take the leap and find the white space and something that I was really passionate about and start my own company. And so I created, the very first product that I created was this little wet wipe, because I used wipes because I traveled all the time and they were constantly irritating my eyes, and this was while I was at Shoppers. And I took a look at what was actually in them, and I figured out why they were irritating my eyes. And so I thought, and also they're really perceived as quite wasteful, and I knew that that natural and clean beauty and organic food, that trend was not really going to be a trend. It was here to stay. So I developed a sustainable cleansing cloth made of bamboo that you can actually plant and it disappears in 90 days. Plus the formula was all natural. And then from there I developed a natural charcoal deodorant, which I've used several times this evening. And yeah, I'm going to check that out. And that really took off. It's called the Takasumi Detox. And we actually, we educate people. Why? Because most people think natural deodorants don't work. And so a big part of the brand for me, which I'll talk about later, is actually educating people on how natural deodorants work. So people don't throw them in the garbage after 3 weeks of trying and say they don't work. Because we want people to stop using aluminum chloride, which is in antiperspirants. And that has been a really interesting ride for us, and it actually led to me getting into an accelerator program with Sephora. So it's been, we aren't retailing our products there just yet, but it has been a very interesting ride, and our digital ride has been and still is, has been going really well. So it was scary at first to leave corporate, and I called it my velvet rut, doing very well there, but I wanted to try it in a really super competitive industry. I think we hit the mark at the right time, though. Clean beauty is just gaining every single year, and our growth has been really terrific. So the scary part is over now, I think.
I don't think it ever ends.
Yeah, I don't think it ever ends, really, but the big scare is over.
Cool. Nice intro, Mary. It was impressive. So I'm Cam McDonald. I'm one of the co-founders of Iconic Brewing. So I founded it 6 years ago now, which sounds crazy, right out of university. And sort of our vision is to revolutionize the ready-to-drink beverage space. It started with beverage alcohol products. We have brands such as Cottage Springs, Liberty Village, which is the world's first sugar-free cider, as well as Cabana Coast. And now we're also getting into cannabis-enhanced beverages, which is, as of now, largely distributed online. So this is why I'm hoping to learn from everybody tonight, because we've traditionally dealt with more bricks and mortar retail. In terms of being brave, I don't think my story is nearly as intriguing as either Andrew's or Mary's. Just because I found it out of university, I think I was naturally naive and sort of didn't fully appreciate the battle. Nor did I have kids or anything like that. So the opportunity cost for me was, I think, a lot less than a lot of people who are incredibly brave in this room. Nevertheless, there's been a ton of challenges, and we're still learning a lot every day. But it's been a great ride.
Hi, I'm Mike Van, CEO and co-founder of Furniture. So how we started was a funny story. I worked CPG, was doing some ERP consulting, and I was moving downtown. And being a single guy, I was like, I actually don't know what the hell I'm doing. I lived in an empty space, had a mattress on the floor, and it was kind of depressing. So I was like, okay, cool. Can I get a friend to help me out? Actually, I moved out to New York 9 months ago, and the same thing happened again. So I don't know. But it was one of those, like, I'm not the only one with that problem. So at least initially, I was like, I just don't want to do this. So I got my friend to help me out. Thought maybe some other people need this. And that sort of helped us start Furniture. I quit my job as a consultant and then decided, hey, let's go to China. And then I went like the week after. Everyone said I was crazy because I had no real plan. I didn't know the space. I just said, sure, why not? Let's just do this. I just really didn't want to pay retail. That's why I ended up doing this. But fast forward 3 years later, a lot of it was just trying to understand the space and just learning a lot along the way and just being brave, just doing a lot of things, just seeing what happens. I wouldn't recommend anyone to do what I did because literally just quit and just said, cool, let's do this. So yeah, that's how the story started.
Awesome. So a couple of ways we can go in this conversation, because I think right now there's a really interesting trend whereby a lot of retailers, CPG, folks like you guys are starting kind of in the physical presence, moving online. But one kind of question I have towards the two of you to start is you have this idea. You believe that people might like this idea. Andrew, I'd love to start with you just on how you actually went and validated that the product that you were going to put kind of passion behind truly had broad interest, because I think at the end of the day it comes from kind of that consumer demand. So I'd be curious on how you guys went through that process.
Yeah, this is going to sound like a bit of a pitch, but at the time that was happening, I was consulting for this startup called Cattle. They're out of St. Catharines, and they do things like rebates and insights, and they knew a lot about customers, and they had a lot of users. And one of the things that they had right off the bat was this survey platform where they could just ask all their users stuff. So as Claire and I were tossing around this idea of a product business, I went to my friend Ransom, who's the CEO, and said, like, can I just ask a bunch of people some questions about their ice cream habits, and are they vegan? What do they not like about their current dessert selections and things like that? And he's like, yeah, of course you can. We could just blast that out to 5,000 people's apps and get the results in 24 hours. It's like, that sounds amazing. Let's do that. How much will that cost me? He's like, well, whatever. We just need content for the app. We're brand new too. So it was awesome. And what I really liked about that was I got to validate some things that I thought I knew. Everybody sort of thinks they know how things are going to go. So I really got to validate the things that I thought I knew, and it uncovered some stuff that was just like nowhere to be found. You never know the things you don't know. And so one of the things that I was really adamant about was to not write this survey myself, because if you write your own survey, you'll inherently add a bias. Mm-hmm. So I told these guys at Cattle like the kinds of things I wanted to know, and then I just let them write this survey, and they did this awesome kind of branch where they're asking, do you eat ice cream, yes or no? And then of the people who said yes, they asked these questions and those questions. And so for somebody in a product business, the reason why it was amazing was it told me things like price sensitivity, channel selection. So when we first had this idea, so just speaking about channel, when we first had this idea, I wasn't 100% sure that we wouldn't go into convenience or maybe food service, because when you're making a product, you want to sell it everywhere. And once we described what this product was to people, a staggering amount of people, I obviously don't know the percentage, otherwise I wouldn't use adjectives like that. A bunch of people said, we do not expect to find this in a restaurant, because when you order in a restaurant, it doesn't say what brand the vanilla ice cream is that comes with your pie. It just says, we have ice cream, right? And people don't care. So that was like, oh, okay, great. I'm not doing food service at all. What a waste. That doesn't build our brand at all. When it came to convenience, a small percentage of people said, yeah, I could picture this in like a 7-Eleven, but they don't have a wide selection, so it's going to be right up next to the Ben & Jerry's and the Haagen-Dazs, or maybe it's a Nestle-only shop, and so, maybe, but grocery, everyone overwhelmingly said, we expect to see this in every grocery store from, the Walmart's, Freshco's, No Frills, all the way up to the Pusateri's, Summerhills, et cetera. And I'm talking demographic, psychographic, monetary, et cetera. So that was great. That just was like awesome. Data drove that decision making. I forget the second part of that question.
I think it makes sense, and I'll build on it with you, Mary, because I think one of the comments you just made was around channel, and I think a bunch of the conversations today has been how do we broadcast our product, how do we bring our product to the masses, both through physical as well as through online channels. And obviously you had a lot of experience kind of in the industry before you embarked on your own business. As you thought about kind of the go-to-market strategy, how did you think through the benefits of going online relative to the benefits of selling through channels? Because I think that's very interesting as we jump over to kind of Cam and Michael around your initial product is driven through channels. You're starting to explore a whole new product line which needs to be delivered online. So Mary, I'd love to kind of better understand, as you were thinking about the best way to bring it to market, how did you evaluate both the physical or digital delivery of your kind of product?
Well, I was late to the game on digital, to be honest. I started because I didn't have a lot of products, so it made it difficult because of shipping for low-value items. So I started with wholesale first, so in brick and mortar. But then we just found that when we launched the deodorant particularly, we hit the market at the right time, and we got a lot of press. So when we first launched it, literally, we were on breakfast television in Toronto, and our online, as that segment aired, we could see the online in the back end just going crazy. And we sold out online. So we knew, okay, we've got to get more active on our digital side. So we're actually still really working on digital because my wholesale was so far ahead. So wholesale represented 80% of my business, and a year later, and I was still only doing 20, but I was on digital because I hadn't built it out properly. And when you're a small team, you only have, wholesale takes up a lot of time. Retailers are very demanding, and so I was spending all of my time on wholesale until I actually had a reality check, and it was just about a little over a year ago, and it was another entrepreneur that, it was actually called Cover Effects, a very big brand now that was just bought out, and I had done some consulting work while I was building my business with the founder, and she and I became very good friends, and she's kind of become my mentor, and she said to me, give your head a check. Why aren't you spending more time on digital? Because first of all, the profit margins are greater, and also the way retail is unfolding, sorry for all you retailers are out there, but they're getting tougher and tougher to make money with, especially with small vendors like myself with 60% margins, and there's all kinds of, payment terms are getting ridiculous. It's really hard to make money with retailers, and digital is just like growing. So why aren't you focusing on that? And that's what she said to me. And she said, if I were you, I would start switching your focus and not giving those retailers quite as much attention as you were, and focus more on building out your digital. And it was the best decision that I could have ever made because I've seen a 165% increase in just 6 months of really focusing on digital. So it's hard to do because time, you know, you've got to figure out and when you're small, this is the biggest struggle, is time management. What's going to give you the most payoff? And I really struggle with that. So I have really said to my team is, okay, we're going to get the biggest increase on digital. So sometimes I just have to say no to retailers, or I can't do that because we need to put our resources into digital because it'll pay out more for us.
Yeah, I think you need to be ruthless with the decisions you make and make sure you have the economics or the methodology around it to make sure you're evaluating the best impact on the decisions you make. So Cam, as you're kind of exploring bringing a whole new product line, you made the comment as you introduced yourself around online seems to be a large distribution method in that new evolving industry we have in Canada. As you're thinking about kind of bringing your product, what stage of the journey are you in? Are you still in like the thinking, dreaming, how do we execute it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because we met with the OCS this morning, and they're all of their distribution as of today is online with 25 stores that are just opening up now, and they're fundamentally acting as the wholesaler. So we're sort of forced to think about digital, and it's for a beverage too. It's kind of weird to ship things in the mail, and the LCBO has a digital component, but their e-commerce sales have been very minimal. So it's something that we didn't pay a ton of attention to. So it's kind of interesting that we're being now forced to consider it. And even today we were questioning, well, maybe we should think about things that travel in the mail a lot better, like gummies and edibles. And because of the retail dynamic in Ontario, maybe beverages will be, initially at least, a much smaller segment than people are forecasting. And then you think about how do you drive conversion, and you're limited in how you can market, especially cannabis products. But what I will also say on our beverage alcohol side, even though people aren't buying products online, we saw stats from the LCBO 2 weeks ago that over 60% of consumers are researching a product before they buy it. And that includes RTDs, which is a space that we primarily play in craft beer. So 2 or 3 years ago when we looked at social media and digital campaigns, sort of our thesis at the time was it was difficult because there was no way to quantify ROI, unlike if we were sending people to a website. And we didn't think people would see something on their phone and then remember it 3 days later when they go into the liquor store. But what we're finding more and more is that it's driving conversation, and social media specifically continues to fascinate me. And we've recently in-housed our digital. We used to outsource it, so we have a team of 3 that just focuses on that now, trying to build out the community and ensuring that we're always having conversations with our consumers. And I'll tell you, it really affects all segments of our business, because these consumers are the ones telling us if we have a product that's out of spec, and then that's going back to our production team, or if stores are out of stock. So it's actually a really good way to understand your business and understand your consumer. So now more than ever are we buying in that digital is now and not something that's in the future.
Yeah, I think it allows you to gather data around the entire customer journey, whether it's in store or online, how they actually support each other.
Yeah, and then from a marketing perspective, if you know how who your consumer is and how they consume and why they consume, you can be much more targeted in your approach. Because when we first entered the beverage alcohol industry, kind of the joke when we'd meet with senior people from Molson or Labatt is you have to do marketing, but only 50% works. You just don't know what 50% is working, and that sort of speaks to how difficult it is to quantify ROI on marketing initiatives.
Cool. So Michael, my understanding, based on meeting probably an hour and a half ago, is you kind of brought together the world of kind of an interior designer meets online for perhaps the bachelor who doesn't necessarily know how to design their own place, to essentially search out concepts that they would like. And the entire experience, to my understanding, is online. So you guys have kind of started there. So I'd be curious to understand, was that the simplest way to engage with the audience? Like, you've started online. Do you ever see a world where you guys might actually have physical locations that people can actually go and peruse, or is it strictly an online play?
So we started online mainly because we're bootstrapped. So we didn't want to pay for retail. I didn't believe in paying for the overhead around retail, but I did believe in partnerships. So one of the things we did early on was focusing on finding the right partners to work with. So one of our early clients was a short-term rental company where we're able to put our furniture in there, they purchased it, but then be able to offer it out as a furniture-branded apartment or rental. So that was one of the ways we started. We didn't do too much in terms of physical, but a lot of the time we spend is towards more content marketing and focusing on that. And that really, the big challenge with what we do is because when you're purchasing furniture, you typically have a short window where you want to purchase everything in one spot. After the short window, you end up purchasing pieces from IKEA or West Elm or wherever you may want to go. But during that short window, we have to be able to capture attention, be top of mind, and be able to then close you within that month or whatever it is. So while having brick and mortar is interesting, and a lot of furniture concepts or folks in the home space have ventured into pop-up shops and stuff like that, we've stayed away. And largely because we want to be able to be measurable in terms of how we're getting customers in the door, where we're spending our time. It doesn't make sense to put a full interior design experience into the store. But we're mindful of competitors are doing that now. So IKEA just launched their concept out in New York on the Upper East Side around a designer experience. So one of those things we're trying to monitor is that going to be something that is going to increase conversion for them? And maybe that's something we pursue as well. But we're very aware in where we spend our money, and we want to be cognizant of not spending it on overhead.
Awesome. So one thing I'd love to go down the line, and just as a time check, how much time do we have up here for anyone that can tell me whether or not I'm way... Pardon me? One more question. Can I open it up to these guys? Do I have time for that? Is that cool? I would love to, you guys have 4 entrepreneurs up here who are kind of bringing great ideas to life, so I'd really love to open up to the audience for any questions you guys have for these guys that you might be interested in learning a little bit more about, if that works. Any questions about sitting on a brand new couch that was delivered while eating some ice cream and having a cold one with some jewelry? Not jewelry.
Don't ship frozen products. It's just not good.
We've run out of mics.
I actually have a question for Michael. You mentioned that competitors come up with designer experience. So I'm not sure if that's your biggest challenge. So I'm just wondering, what is your biggest challenge in your business?
I mean, furniture is one of those spaces where it's high costing, so you have to deal with the operations. It's expensive. It's a big purchase, so our average order is about $6,000. So when you're making you can't really call it an impulse purchase because you're spending $6,000 and it's all up front. So when you're dealing with other competitors, I think one of the things is that we got to make sure that we're offering a really good experience that is different from everyone else. So there are competitors are popping up with different types of concepts, so like rental concepts or like interior design experiences, whatever it may be. So for us, we just got to be really tight on how we're delivering, how we're making sure that it's a convenient and simple solution. Otherwise, we run out of the doors because we wouldn't be able to compete.
Okay, we have time for one more question, I think. I think I saw your hand up.
I have a question for Andrew. So you are creating a product that is new. It's a new category. So what are the things you have been doing to teach and inform consumers that you are not an ice cream, that what your product is, and how are you informing customers about that?
Thank you. Kelly took my mic away.
I did.
This answer is in 3 parts. It's going to take about 15 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. So a couple of things. Very early on, I decided that I was going to jam banana right into what I called the product. So, and I correct people when they get it wrong. So anybody who says ice cream, I say, oh, it's a frozen dessert. It's a frozen banana dessert. And I try to correct them. And then even people who sort of know the category and they'll call it a frozen dessert, I'll say actually it's a frozen banana dessert. I'm basically trying to invent a category so that when I talk to retailers and they say, Well, we've got all of these non-ice cream things in this freezer over here. We call it natural foods, and you'll probably fit in there. But we have a lot of those already. I'm like, you don't have a frozen banana dessert. Oh, well, what's that? Well, it's like ice cream. It's made like ice cream. It has fat and sugar and solids and protein. It's just like ice cream, but it's 100% plant-based. And I go on with my spiel. So when I'm selling, I've kind of created this category out of thin air that they realize, oh, well, should I be paying attention to this? Like, what's this all about? And then as soon as you start dropping terms that buyers read and hear that are very trendy and they know are important, this is a clean label product. Oh, clean label. This is all plant-based. Is it vegan? Well, it is. That's what plant-based means. Is it non-dairy? Well, I just said it was vegan and plant-based, but yes, it's also non-dairy. Is there sugar in it? Well, we got to put sugar in it, but let me tell you the functional reasons why we have to put sugar in it away I go. So I tell them all of these things so that by the end of that meeting, they realize, well, they have nothing like this. They have to bring it into their store. So that's how I do it. Does that answer your question? I don't know. I just sort of rambled there a bit. Okay, I get in the zone, you know. Did I tell everybody that Laura bought a whole case? So she's hosting the after party, and I think it was chocolate, right? Chocolate all around. And I didn't tell everybody this, but there might still be some left. So the 3 flavors: Eddie's favorite chocolate. Eddie's my son, he's 5. Monty's favorite strawberry. Monty's my other son, he's 5. And Holly, her favorite is mango, she's 3. They're very cute, but Claire says we can't use them on any of the marketing or anything, so, because I really want to, I want to exploit them all, because they're so cute. But we have to respect their privacy and all that stuff, so we can't use their faces, but we might do some cute stuff with them. But they're real people, and we put their names on the products and stuff, and so that's the story I like to get out there, but we can't use their faces, so.
Amazing.
Anyway, that's it. I'm just rambling now, Kelly.
No, I love it. I love it.
Still got a mic.
Exploiting your children. Keep going.
Is this on the record?
What? Okay, I just want everyone, please join me in a round of applause for this amazing panel. Thank you, Andrew, Mary, Cam, Michael. You guys are so inspiring. So thank you guys so much. That's the final thing tonight. You feel free to hang around a little bit and network with your new neighbors that you just met.